let's talk about the 14th Amendment,
Right.
because there is a connection that we'll talk about after or during this that is directly links the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 1866 that most Americans don't know about, and they should. Do we see the Civil Rights Act of 1866 in history books? Yes. Do we see the 14th Amendment in history books? Yes. Is there a connection drawn between them in a way that makes it relevant? Absolutely not. And so that's where we are right now. So we want to talk about the 14th Amendment and abuses of the 14th Amendment by those for whom it wasn't even written, because it's not their birthright.
Right.
So, Ted, is that enough for you to take that ball and run with it?
Oh, that's wonderful, Robin. You see what I got here, don't you?
Hello?
It's my little studio, okay? And I always have this up no matter what I do so people can see. And there's a correlation between these two. And I'm trying to get good at this here. Go that way, right? Yeah, okay, there it is. And this, when we follow this, will ensure that this continues to fly and we can get it turned right side up, okay? Some people think the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 18, understandably, they think that they're two separate entities. They are not two separate laws. They are one law in combined, okay? They're two aspects of the law combined. One of the analogies that Rob and I will give you is picture the 14th, well, let me say this first. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was legislated, enacted for the citizenship of the freed chattel slaves and freemen. Freemen were black people in that time who were not slaves. They were literally free people. They either escaped or they were indentured servants and got their way out and those kinds of things. So the citizenship was to us. Once after slavery, once they passed the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in America, except in prison. That's part B of that. Okay, we'll talk about that in the future.
Yeah.
But then they thought, by the way, the people who wrote these laws, it's one thing to say they, those, them, but they, those, them are actual real people. And the particular people that wrote these laws, they were white people. No black folks wrote these laws. These were not our ideas, okay? 2, politically, they were Republicans. They were Republicans. They were not Democrats. They were Republicans, okay, politically. And they were primarily Northerners, okay? These Republican Congress members said, and Robin, one day what we should do is get a list of all those Congress members, and we should talk about each one of them: Thaddeus Stevens, General Howard, of course, Abraham Lincoln. We should talk about Harriet Beecher Stowe. We should talk about Frederick Douglass because he was half white. We should talk about all the white people that have made not only America possible, but made our lives as black people possible. And I think people need to know that so that they can make proper judgment and get out of the emotional and mythical urban myths about who did what to black people.
Right.
But the point I'm making is that white people have done some wonderful things in the country. So these white Republicans, architects of the law, they said, look, slavery is abolished, 13th Amendment, but who are these people? They're Americans, we know that. They're born here, we know that. But what is their status? They have no status. Therefore, something bad could happen to them in the future. Let's citizenize them. Great idea. So they wrote a congressional law that was the first civil rights law in the history of the United States at that time. 1776, 1866, 90 years, unprecedented. It gave us citizenship. In that law, there were 10 sections of that law. You go to the promissorynote.com, go to Robin's site there, you'll see what these are, study them. Then you'll see those, and they, very powerful stuff, you'll find out later. And they enacted that. So when they enacted it, they got to thinking, wow, wait a minute. These people's citizenship is only as good as the next Congress. The next Congress could come along and repeal a congressional act.
Yeah, wipe it
These
out.
people lose their citizenship.
Yeah.
So they thought, well, we got to permanentize it. They said, well, let's embed it and make it a part of the Constitution, which makes it even more difficult for anyone to rob these people of their rightful citizenship. So they came up with something called the 14th Amendment. They're going to make an amendment after the 13th to embed the content of the Civil Rights Act of 1866 into the Constitution. It's almost like a hidden trap door. We
Yeah.
read, there are 27 amendments to the Constitution, and we come down to the Bill of Rights, which are 10, and then we come to the 11th and the 12th Amendment, and then we hit this 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment,
Yeah.
a consecutive, interlocked, succeeding, consecutive amendment. No other set of amendments in America are like this, and it's the only and the subject beneficiaries, which happen to be American-born Black peoples who were slaves. What do I want to say about that? We are the only people that are discussed in detail in the Constitution. White citizens are mentioned as a kind of a backdrop comparative, and Native Americans are mentioned as a mention. But we are identified. Even a color is alluded to. We are identified as unwilling servants. It explains the suffering we've gone through. And it gives us power over the president, over the Supreme Court, over the U.S. military. It sounds far-fetched, but you can read it. So they embedded the 14th Amendment. They embedded the 13th, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 into the Constitution. They did that in 1868. So we have a combination, 1866, 1868. Now, picture the human anatomy. It's made up of two primary parts. It's made up of an inner and an outer. The inner part of our body is the skeleton, the sinews, the muscle, the internal organs.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that stuff, but it's there. It holds up everything you see about me. The skin, the hair, the looks, the outer appearance, that is the 14th Amendment. The body, the skeleton, the sinews, that is the Civil Rights Act of 1866. You cannot separate them. It'll die. It cannot even be shared. Okay, it'll die. So here's the next picture. Picture a mother and a child. When you look at the 14th Amendment, Section 1, which is creating a lot of confusion for people who have been using the 14th Amendment incorrectly, mm-hmm. and you look at the Civil Rights Act of 1866, Section 1, both of those acts, both of those sections are identical, except, they both start off with anyone born in the United States, and it goes on as a citizen and so forth. Well, each one will say that. However, the one difference is the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the first one that the Republican congressman enacted, goes into detail. Let's go back to as to who the anyone born in the United States of Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. It identifies the anyone born. Right. And so it serves as, I say that the Civil Rights Act of 1866 is the progenitor as well as the Rosetta Stone or the identifier of the 14th Amendment, who that baby is in the 14th Amendment. And then it goes on to describe in each section what that baby looks like and what the power of that baby is. Here's another analogy for you of the 14th Civil Rights Act of 1866. A house. A house has a key, and what else? A title deed. The key to the house is the 14th Amendment. If you have the key and you're using the key to unlock the door, you have to also demonstrate you've got the title deed. And what's been happening in our country, people from Asia come here, women, pregnant, to have a baby in the name of the 14th Amendment.
Or anywhere else, yeah.
Citizenship. Anybody. Yeah, they come. People come from across the border illegally, have a baby inside the border of the United States, say that baby is a U.S. citizen. And that is totally wrong.
Yeah.
They don't have the title deed, because when you read the Civil Rights Act of 1866, nowhere does it describe anyone born in the United States to be Asians who came here pregnant and had a baby. It doesn't say illegal aliens who can come here and have a baby. It doesn't say minorities. It doesn't say anything like that. It only describes the people of involuntary servitude. And there's only one people in the United States, Indians excluded, who have been of involuntary servitude. So for people to assume that 14th Amendment Section 1 is speaking about them is actually an affront. Not only an affront, but it is fatal to the people for whom it belongs.
It's not their medicine. It is not their medicine. It is the medicine of chattel slaves and their descendants. Here's what people argue. They say Section 1 of the 14th Amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So what people try to do is they say, well, I'm born here, I'm a citizen here. Yeah, but you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. You're subject to the jurisdiction of your home country.
Robert, and if they were subject to the jurisdiction, they would turn around and leave the country.
Yeah,
they would realize I'm not a citizen here. Right. I have no say. I respect these laws. I will leave. They don't get it because. Go ahead.
So that will that addresses something that I think it's very important that we clarify, that people have asked, how does the Civil Rights Act of 1866 impact us today? And one of the ways in which it impacts us today is is illegal immigration, because people think, that there's no connection between these people, these AKA Black people, the descendants of chattel slavery. There's no connection between them and illegal immigration. And illegal immigration has no connection, and it does not damage. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It has the most deleterious impact on those who come to be called Black people in the United States. And it is because people have knowingly taken the 14th Amendment, aka the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and applied it to individuals to whom it does not apply.
That's right, Robin.
Their medicine. It is not the remedy for their problem. The remedy for their problem is Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, not the 14th Amendment, not the Civil Rights Act of 1866. It's not that we don't care about your situation.
Right.
It's just that is not your medicine.
Right. And if we feel sorry for you, which we do, and your condition, your situation, if we go in the medicine cabinet, Robin, and on the medicine cabinet, there's all this medicine up there, and there's a label that says, how's it go? It has your name on it, right? It describes the medicine, right?
Yeah.
It's a prescription, and it has your name on it. If I take my medicine, as much as I care about you, and give it to you so that you feel better, I'll end up killing you.
Yeah, so you die. Yeah. So
if I keep giving you my medicine, I ain't gonna have none, and we both gonna be dead.
Right. So that's not love. I don't know what that is.
That's not love.
But that's not love. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I like to give you some medicine for your pain, but I cannot give you my medicine because the doctor has prescribed it to me and to me only. It's like your birth certificate, Robin. I cannot use your birth certificate to get me around the United States.
Right.
That would be, what do you call that? Identity theft.
Fraud. Yeah.
Fraud.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to us. You ever wonder why, one of the reasons why Black lives our matters, we never really come up as much as we should of the people, because people come here legally and illegally, and they claim things like minority status, and they somehow equate minority status with civil rights. And therefore, because civil rights for the blacks,
Yeah.
they've been come up with this word called peoples of color and minority to get civil rights. In fact, they're trying to get civil rights, 14th Amendment for orca whales and animals.
Yeah.
So it
erases us. It dilutes our history.
Good word.
It erases us. And I think one of the reasons why folks are not really all that torn up about it is because the more our history is erased, the less the shame of it all needs to be addressed.
If y'all out there, bless your heart, turn down Confederate statues and changing the names of streets and parks from Confederate to whatever you want to be, ladies and gentlemen, please stop it. You don't see black folks out there tearing that stuff down. Why? Because if you get rid of Lee's statue or General whatever,
Right.
then you get rid of the evidence that there was chattel slavery in America. What are you going to tell our kids? There was never slavery in America.
Yeah.
Please stop it. If you care about the matter, Confederate statues are a matter of Black lives. That makes sense to you?
Yeah.
Confederate statues are a matter of Black lives.
Symbols, all of it is of great evidentiary value. All of it. So
ladies,
the answer
stop it.
The answer to our history is not rewriting it and revising it. It's recognizing it in its entirety. And that's why I always say there's no Black history, there's no white history, there's just history. And we segregate our histories and there's big old holes, but the holes are right there. We combine them and we realize it's all one history, one history. And that's what keeps things hidden in plain sight.
Robin, how's it go? His, capital H, capital I, capital S, story. His story.
Ooh.
His story. So that is the confusion, folks. People think because that one simple statement, all persons born or naturalized. Now that's where you come in. If you are not a chattel slave descendant, then you come in here where the word says naturalized. For example, that's Article 1, as Robin said earlier. Go read Article 1, Section 8, because in Article 1, Section 8, the Constitution gives Congress the authority over immigration, customs, and naturalization. So there are laws there that require you to go through in order to become a U.S. citizen. Then, let's say you came from Poland. Let's say you came from Uganda. You came here willingly, so therefore you are essentially a white citizen because that's kind of the way the mold works. You are a citizen. Then you go through the immigration process and you become a citizen, okay? Then you and your wife or husband have a baby born in the United States. That child automatically then is a U.S. citizen. That child then is a U.S. citizen by birth. But that's only because your parents had become a U.S. citizen. But for the rest of us, this is just for us chattel slaves. That's what it really means ultimately. You see, that's why I've been telling all the white kids out here, if you talk about the matters of Black lives, I'm going to tell you about the matters of Black lives. Picture a big door, big wall to a castle, and it's blocking anyone from coming in. And it's our job to take that castle down and get inside that castle and change things, right? And so we use a battering ram. And what's happening is that white citizens and black citizens together make up the battering ram. The
Right.
white citizens are the shaft. That's the power. That's the strength. Y'all got the strength, okay? We are the head, the
Yeah.
ram's head of the battering ram. Because we are the only people in America, I tell them this, we are the only people in America that has the constitutional authority to tell the president of the United States what he can, should, must do on behalf of black citizens in the name of everybody in the United States. We're the only ones got that authority. Nobody else has that authority. In fact, according to Section 2, if we can demonstrate that the president or any government official has violated Section 1, we can have them arrested. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. We can put the president of the United States in jail. No other people in America has quite that kind of power but us. Why? Because we're black? No. We happen to be black.
It's the experience.
Yeah,
It's the experience.
Yeah.
It is the experience.
Y'all, white citizens came here willingly, legally or illegally, to succeed or fail for your generations to come. Most of you succeeded, but you came willingly on the Mayflower. Our ancestors, Robin and my ancestors, did not come here willingly. We were brought here against our will, in chains, mind you, and transformed into living human property upon which the nation of immigrants is built. Y'all built this country on the back of chattel slaves with the help of chattel slaves, in fact, building the country, i.e. Washington, D.C., the White House, Congress, Capitol Hill, and so forth and so on. So,
so it's another point that needs to be clarified. That is what necessitated a different path to citizenship, as is outlined and supported by the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 1866, sometimes called the full-bodied 14th Amendment. It necessitated that different path.
I like that term, Robin.
As Ted has taught me, it's kind of a back door to citizenship to bring us up to the same level or on par with our white brothers and sisters, because we are the only ones that came here in that way.
Right.
And now you can kind of see the root of why it is so extremely important that we be able to make that differentiation. Why peoples of color, that is a relatively new kind of thing. It is not about peoples of color. We're not all to be lumped into the same group, because if we are, we will unwittingly die. Not just us.
Yes.
All
Robin.
Americans, because our destinies are inextricably linked to one another. We are a family. We are brothers and sisters, whether we like it or not.
Right.
We have come together under we are brought together under a national covenant. And that was a very sacred thing that was done with the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 1866. That's why it is for no one else. Not because we're selfish, but because of the experience.
Yes.
Which was completely different.
Yes.
And I'll always say, and you've heard me say this a million times, that I'm blue in the face, that simultaneously there are at least two different American experiences occurring simultaneously.
That's right.
And the two, they're right next to each other. And they seem to never intersect until today.
Yep.
Until today. Why? Because it's time.
It's time.
It's time. Because all of these lives need to be saved. So if I ever say the words, all lives matter, it is based in what I just shared with you. Not as some kind of a retort or to try to be smart or ugly or combative. Ain't nobody got time for that. It is said because it's true, because we are a family and we live together, we die together. That's why we have to get this right. We have to.
Robin, I've learned one of the things, the analogy, what you just said there. Black and white citizens in America, we are conjoined fraternal twins. We don't look like each other, but we stuck together. We share the same internal organs. If you die, white boy, I die.
Right.
If you live, I live. If I die, you die. If I live, you live.
You live.
That's what King. That's what King said. Martin Luther King said. He said that that our destiny. He says that white citizens' destiny is intricately intertwined with the freedom and the destiny of black citizens. And remember, he said in the promissory note speech he gave, we call "I Have a Dream." He pointed out. He said that America shall have neither rest nor tranquility until the Negro receives. We had it on paper, but experientially, his citizenship rights. He's talking about the promissory note, which is the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the 14th Amendment. Read the law, read the speech. Then he goes on to say, the winds of revolt,
The whirlwinds of
shall,
revolt.
the
Yeah.
whirlwinds of revolt shall continue to shake the foundations of the nation until that bright day of justice emerges. And my white brothers and sisters, black brothers and sisters, that day is dawning right now. Isn't that a miracle?
It's an amazing time to be alive. We don't need to be afraid. We need to be hopeful. We need to have joy. We need to walk into this with love. There is a reason we have been purposefully placed on this earth at this time in history with the gifts that we have, the talents that we have, the hearts that we have, the sensibilities that we have, all of that because of why we are.
You know, Robin, folks,
Yes,
these little young white kids are approaching me, right, on the hill, right, the old fool hill, right?
Yes.
And so there was two kids from Orange County, white as white can be, blue eyes, blonde hair, very fair white skin, and I went over, we were talking, and those little kids were just beaming to be there. And I said to them, you guys are so fortunate to be born in this time in history. She said, yeah, we feel it too. And I said, you go home and you tell your mothers and fathers how much we black folks appreciate your children coming out here to support us. Tell your mom and dad that I said, you guys done a great job raising these two children here. They were like, well, they turned red. They were so, you know, they feel a reason for being, they feel that there's a reason for them to be alive in a very troubled world at this time. Where'd you get that big old cup? That's a big cup.
Walmart.
Took up the whole screen,
Walmart,
Robin.
Tucson, Arizona, man. Two of them.
Let me see it again. Let us see it again. Can we see it again?
Here's what I don't.
Look at that big old cup.
Here's what I don't like is that, you know, it
You
always
hide your whole face behind that.
cold. It gets cold before I get down to the bottom.
I know.
That upsets me. Now, even though it's got these little gold foil things on them, it's my consumable.
Mine is cold too.
Come and do this for me.
Yeah, take my cup, my assistant.
It's a solo show over here, man.
Rob, you know what I like about you? I like this program, and y'all just keep coming back. And please tell folks, we're going to try to do this every week. And y'all tell everybody to come out and listen to what Rob and I are talking about. Be a part of this conversation and help spread it and teach it. The more, if you care about the matters of Black lives, you don't have to get out in the street and march. You have a screen that you can march. You can do your civil rights march online.
Yes, you can.
And you can teach people. That it ain't gonna cost you no time, no money. Just some time to come to the promissorynote.com, come to our program here and teach. That's all we ask.
Absolutely.
So, but you know what? I like laughing with you. We laugh a lot here. We laugh a lot because laughter does the heart good like a medicine.
Yes. Always talk about medicine over here. We're always, you know what else? Okay, here's another analogy that we often use, and we talk about why the need for anesthesia, because we have a wound in America that is it's festering, it's infected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in order to heal a wound, you don't just throw a bandage over it and hope for the best.
Nope.
The infection needs to be cleaned out. And that
Yep.
could be painful. But you clean it out once, you won't have to clean it out again. And then you
Yep.
pour sterile water over it, or hydrogen peroxide, or whatever your debrider is, your debridement vehicle is. And sometimes you have to pull glass out of the wound, and rocks and dirt and all of that stuff.
Bullets.
And then bullets, shrapnel, and then you stitch it closed with a sterile suture. You stitch it closed, and then maybe put a little bacitracin on it or whatever it is, and then a sterile dressing, and then it can begin to heal. I don't know if you guys can hear all that noise back out there. We got some construction going on out there.
No, we don't hear nothing. We hear nothing.
Okay, then I just could have just been quiet and said nothing. But the bottom line is the infection needs to be cleaned out. The infection is what's creating so much pain, but the pain lets you know that you're alive, and the pain lets you know that there's something in there that needs to be cleaned out.
Yeah.
And that's where we are, guys. More medical.
And to add to that, if the wound is severe enough, you're going to need some psychological therapy because of trauma, PTSD from the experience. Now, I'm hearing a lot about the PTSD of America.
Yes.
That black and white, we're all suffering from PTSD. So the wound we clean, but we need to also heal. And what's it called, Robin? Therapy, physical and psychological therapy. You do a lot of that work, don't you?
Healing. Huh?
You do a lot of that work, psychotherapy and things, and helping people to heal from stuff that.
I put up the disclaimer: I am not a mental health professional.
No, you're not. But you are. But she's a well-spoken, experienced, and knowledgeable, wise sister. That's what she is.
Yeah, I am all about healing. I'm all about it because I've had to do so much of it myself. So there's nothing that I take anybody through that I haven't walked through myself.
And I tell you something, y'all. I've got to know Robin over the last, how many years? 3, 4 years, something like that?
It feels like forever. Forever we've been doing this. But yeah, 3, 4 years. Yeah.
And
maybe longer.
And for a long time I did not know that Robin was in physical pain until she felt comfortable enough to share with me. And I'm not going to say a lot because I don't want to put Robin's private life out there, but Robin has some very serious pain. She's had some very serious pain from a lot of things, but her attitude of joy and her commitment and belief in God and her work, I didn't know that she was in pain. And she told me, I was like, what? You could have fooled me. Not that she's trying to mask and be phony about it, but I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think that Robin understands that having a good attitude brings healing, helps the healing process. And I think Robin doesn't want to bum anybody out with crying the blues about her pain.
Right. Yeah.
And at the same time, what she does, I think here, is that she emanates a healing presence and encouragement, and other people learn from her how to bring their pain under control so that it can so that the cause of the pain can be healed. Am I correct, Robin?
Yes,
my
sir.
assessment there?
Yes, sir. You are.
Not me. The tip of the story.
Here we go.
I get a hangnail. Okay, I'm about to tear everything up. Okay, I cannot take pain. That's why I couldn't be an espionage secret agent, because they captured me. I'm talking. Hey, y'all can put them tools away. I'm gonna tell you, they'll have to shut me up. Okay. So I salute you, Robin.
You keep that bamboo over there. Don't put them under here.
Yeah, you don't need that. I'll tell you anything you want to know. But anyway, the point is, though, I can't take pain. I'm very, and God help me on that. But Robin, I salute you. So that's who Robin is, y'all. Okay? So So she knows what she's talking about.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm finding that there are a lot of people who have been through a lot of pain, and the Lord uses them mightily, because we are able to identify with more, because there's a lot of pain out there, and we don't have a problem with seeing it because we've lived it, or we are living it, And one of the reasons why I don't share any more than I do is that people truly get uncomfortable with my story.
Yeah.
So I share those things that are relevant, and then the rest I keep to myself. You know, it's just kind of, it's where it's not my goal to make someone so uncomfortable that they can't receive a message. But if there's discomfort involved in receiving the message, I don't avoid that, if that makes any sense.
It
So,
does. Makes a lot of sense. Like a doctor. Doctor said, look, guy, I'm sorry I'm going to cause a little pain. I got to check to see whether broken arm or the pain
yeah,
in your belly. I
reset
got to
it.
find it first
Yeah.
before I can apply anything to it. I'm sorry, but it's going to hurt a little bit. Look the other way.
Word.
Anyway, I've got to get ready to go
Okay.
back to the hill today.
So should we finish the final thing? Or
Sure.
did,
What is that, Robin?
or maybe we did. Maybe we did it, and I'll just summarize then. Where, where is it? Hold on. There it is. Okay. So, oh yeah, we kind of already did it. So the last thing that we were doing, or the last thing that we had on our list, we have the big three, and it was a connection between the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and we covered that.
You want to say?
Ted gave us the analogy, or several analogies. One is the mother and the child, and the mother knows her child, and the child is the 14th Amendment is the child.
The child. The 14th Amendment is the child,
Civil Rights
and the
Act.
Civil Rights Act is the mama. She knows her child.
He also gave us the analogy of the body and the skin. And the body has two distinct parts, the internal and the external. The internal is the Civil Rights Act of 1866. It explains everything. It's the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the sinews, the blood, all of that. And the 14th Amendment is the skin that covers it. The skin that you see first in the Constitution of the United States. And then on the inside, you cut that open and you see all of the guts. And that's the Civil Rights Act of 1866. And that's just two of the analogies that he used. So there is a connection between
the house and the key, the deed and the key.
The house and the key. We've got the house. The key is the 14th Amendment, but the deed of ownership is the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Simple as that.
They are not separated away from each other. They are the same thing. So if you want to know the 14th Amendment, know the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So the 14th Amendment, of course, is in the Constitution. The Civil Rights Act of 1866, you can Google that and find that. But you should also be able to go to thepromissorynote.com and find a link to a PDF. Print it out, mark it up, read it, learn it. It can be very intimidating because it's written in law language, right? They're constitutional language, but better that you read it and know a little bit than to not know of it at all, because it's been in plain sight to you all of this time. Know, understand, read. Don't be intimidated by it. Again, you will know more than you did before you first picked it up to begin with.
That's right.
So, guys, we are on Facebook.com. We are the Promissory Note Project. Our Facebook address is facebook.com/a gift to this republic, where you will see videos, clips, this right her, and all that we have done before. We have a YouTube channel, The Promissory Note, where you will see this video in parts and in its entirety, and videos that have been done previous to this. And most importantly, you want to know what you can do, go to facebook.com, go to our website, thepromissorynote.com, and any link within that website, you will find a link, you can click on any link that says petition, go to it, it will take you to wethepeople.gov, and there's a petition set up for the full enforcement of the Civil Rights Act of 1866 for the first time in the history of this Union Republic. You want to know what you can do? Sign that petition. 100,000 signatures minimum will get the attention of the White House. That is our responsibility. We can't say we're not going to do it because, well, I don't like this president or I don't like this administration. What, so
It's
you're not going to
irrelevant.
do what you're supposed to do? Do what you're supposed to do
Right.
and let God bless
There
it
you go.
and magnify your efforts. And I believe
There
that this
you
will
go.
be our year, baby. This will be our year.